Alright, so it's been a long time coming, but the new Garmin Connect 5.0 update is finally here. And with this new version, they brought a brand new homepage design, and the feedback since it's been rolled out last week has been vocal, to say the least. It's a big change for sure. So in this video, I want to go over what's exactly changed with this new update, as well as what I really think about this new update. And I've been using the beta since it rolled out a few months ago, so I've also got some tips and tricks on how it could work better for you if you preferred aspects of the old design. But I also do have some suggestions for Garmin on how it could be better, and I even made some exact mock-ups on things I'd like to see, which could make it work better for all of us. Now, I also definitely want to encourage you all to share your feedback as well, because Garmin does read the comment sections on my videos, but as we all know, the best kind of feedback is going to be constructive feedback, like as in, I like it because, let's say, it's simpler, or I don't like it because maybe you feel it's not as simple. So definitely make suggestions on what you'd like to see out of this app. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some of these new changes. So the new 5.0 version of Garmin Connect mainly consists of a new homepage redesign. The rest of Garmin Connect has actually largely remained the same for the most part. So with the previous version, it was more of a stacked data layout where you have full width cards with the stats that you've chosen to see, and you'll basically scroll down to see all the cards that you've chosen. And then each card has a pretty good amount of data on each one. With the new version, it's now broken up into a few different sections now. So up top, if you've done an activity today, it'll show up here. And then after that, there's an in focus section, and these are specific data points that you choose where you can see quite a bit of detail on each one. Like here, I have my training readiness, my training status, my body battery, an activity summary for the week, as well as my pathetic sleep score. And by the way, that spike in stress right here was when I was on a plane where the turbulence got a bit spicy. And then below that, there's another section called At a Glance. And these are smaller cards where you can see around 4 to 6 cards on the screen at one time, depending on your display size. So these don't have as much detailed information as the cards in the In Focus section, but even for being smaller cards though, they still show a good snapshot of each one of the stats. And then below that, it has a section for yesterday's stats, like whatever activities that you did, your body battery, your sleep, calories, and heart rate. And then finally at the bottom, there's a section for the last 7 days of information with a pretty good summary of lots of different stats from the last 7 days. So with the new design, Garmin's marketing materials talk about seeing more of what matters to you, where it's a more tailored experience based on your goals. And I do think that's the case for the most part, at least when it comes to the In Focus section, where you can very much prioritize certain pieces of information right at the top of the app. I also think it can be less overwhelming in regards to what data you see on the screen at one time in that In Focus section, since those are larger cards. The limitation here, though, is that there's a somewhat limited set of fields to choose from for the In Focus cards versus the stats that you can choose from for the At a Glance section. So it has stuff like body battery, training readiness, training status, as well as workout trends, but doesn't necessarily have stuff like calories, HRV status, or weight, which may hold more importance to you. Now, this At a Glance section is probably the most similar in regards to the old layout, where you can see lots of different kinds of information at one time. The layout is different for sure, though, where it goes for a side-by-side card approach versus full-width cards. And of course, some may like this layout and some may not. It may require a bit more setup in regards to choosing the data you want to display and how to display it, but once it's there, it allows for quick access versus having to drill down into the app to find that particular piece of data, which can be quite a few taps away and can sometimes be deep in those menus. Now, when the beta first rolled out for this update, they actually got rid of the last week view, which thank goodness they actually brought that back because that was super important. So that was a really great call. Now, funny enough, this is the part of the layout that I actually like best, and I think they should actually transfer this concept to other areas of the homepage. And this brings us to a tip for all of you out there who preferred the old version, where when you first open the app, you can see lots of different kinds of data. And that's to actually hide the In Focus section. And what this does is that it just shows the At a Glance section, which then shows more data on the screen at one time with around, again, 4 to 6 different pieces of data depending on your screen. Now, I think that could definitely help, but there's one thing I feel that's kind of missing here, and that's more of a quick summary at the top of the screen that shows multiple stats all at once that gives us kind of a quick snapshot of, let's say, our body battery, sleep score, heart rate, as well as plenty of other stats. Other apps do this, like let's say Apple Fitness as well as Whoop, where there's an easy to see summary right when you open the app that gives you plenty of important data points all at one time. The In Focus section definitely does do this, but it's for individual metrics like training status, but then you have to scroll for your other important stats. So I definitely get that it's giving more detail on each important metric, but in my mind, when I open an app, I'd rather see a more bird's eye view of my day. And this gets us to my suggestion on how this app could be better. So going back to the yesterday or last 7 days view. So this is actually the kind kind of layout I'd like to see when I first open the app. It provides a nice bird's eye view of a bunch of stats at one time. And then maybe if I wanted to see more detail on each stat, maybe what I could do is tap on one of those fields and it would expand that particular section to show more detail, and then I would just tap it again to hide that field. That would basically save space to show more fields while still allowing to see more detailed information on a particular stat when I want to. And then with that kind of concept, they'll basically need to bring back that level of customization that you had in the previous version where you could choose from a whole bunch of different stats. I do still think that the In Focus section is totally useful and could be the top of the app if someone wants to have it there, and hide it if they don't want to have it, and that functionality is obviously there right now. But I do think that it could also be shorter though, and doesn't necessarily have to be that tall, which would make more space for that proposed layout that I kind of just suggested. Now for the desktop side of things, when it comes to Garmin Connect on the web, this essentially mirrors the information and layout that you chose on your smartphone app. So you have your In Focus section up top, but these are going to be all shown versus having to swipe on the app since there's more screen real estate. And below that, you have your at a glance cards, and then at the bottom, you have your yesterday and last 7 days view. The nice thing is that it mirrors the data that you chose and the layout from the app, but kind of like I mentioned in my original video, I don't necessarily think this takes advantage of the amount of real estate that's available on a desktop web browser. There's probably a lot more that can be done here, and I'm not sure if just mirroring the layout from the app is actually better than the dashboards that Garmin Connect used to have. I think the web version is kind of an entirely different discussion though for another day. So I know Garmin's definitely put a lot of work into this new app design with the new homepage, but I'm not necessarily sure if everything that they envisioned actually translated. Garmin devices have the most data points and the most metrics out of any other sports tech device out there. And while that's awesome from the data geek standpoint in all of us, it also does make it tough to prioritize and organize all information, especially since Garmin's audience is everyone from someone who may just want to track their health and sleep, all the way to someone who may be a professional level athlete. So they kind of have to accommodate for a broader audience when designing their app, and that does make it tough. Anyhow, those are just my thoughts on the new Garmin Connect 5.0, but definitely let us all know what you think down in the comments section down below. And again, let's definitely make this a conversation with solid suggestions on what you like, what you don't like, and how it can work better for you. Anyhow, if you liked the video or found the information in this video to be useful, do me a favor and just quickly hit that like button, and also subscribe to the channel for plenty more sports tech videos just like this that are coming soon. In the meantime, go have fun out there, and we'll see you in the next video.